Amaka glanced at the clock on the kitchen wall. The board numbers stared back at her, 3:17 a.m. She yawned, stretching her arms above her head and gently massaging her neck. It had been another long night at the hospital where she worked as a senior nurse. The Lagos streets were still dark, and the hum of distant traffic was barely audible through the walls of her small apartment. Her eyes were heavy with sleep, but as she sipped her tea, a sense of calm washed over her. She was just about to head to bed when her phone rang, its sudden sound piercing through the quiet of the early morning. Amaka's heart skipped a beat. Calls at this hour were never good news. She hesitated for a moment before picking up the phone. "Hello," she answered, her voice tinged with anxiety. "Mama, it's me," came the trembling voice of her 16-year-old son, Chidi. The panic in his tone sent a chill down her spine. "Chidi, what's wrong? Are you okay?" she asked, her motherly instincts kicking in, her mind racing with possibilities. "Mama, please, you need to come. It's Amarachi," he said, his voice cracking with emotion. Amarachi was Chidi's twin sister. Amaka's stomach tightened. What happened to Amarachi? "Where are you?" "We're at the party, at Chinidu's house." "Mama, she's not waking up." Amaka's blood ran cold. She could feel her pulse quickening as the fear gripped her heart. "I'm coming. Stay with her, Chidi. Don't let her out of your sight." "I'm on my way." She hung up the phone, her hands trembling. Without thinking, she grabbed her keys and rushed out of the apartment, her thoughts a chaotic whirlwind. She had warned Amarachi about going to parties unsupervised. The girl had always been headstrong, much like Amaka herself at that age. As she drove through the near-empty streets, the city lights casting long shadows, Amaka prayed silently for her daughter's safety. She couldn't shake the growing sense of dread that something terrible had happened. When Amaka arrived at Chinidu's house, the scene was chaotic. Teenagers milled about in a state of shock, some crying, others too stunned to move. She pushed her way through the crowd, her eyes scanning desperately for Chidi and Amarachi. "Mama, over here." Chidi's voice broke through the noise. He was crouched beside Amarachi, who lay motionless on the ground, her dark skin pale under the dim streetlight. Amaka's heart ached as she knelt beside her daughter, her medical training kicking in as she checked Amarachi's pulse and breathing. "She's not breathing," Amaka said, her voice shaking. "Call an ambulance, Chidi. Now." As Chidi fumbled with his phone, Amaka began performing CPR, her hands moving rhythmically on Amarachi's chest. The minutes stretched into an eternity, and Amaka's mind was a blur of memories and fears. She remembered the day Amarachi and Chidi were born, how they had been her light in the darkest times. And now, the thought of losing one of them was too much to bear. The ambulance arrived, its sirens wailing through the night. Paramedics took over, and Amaka watched helplessly as they worked to stabilize Amarachi. The scene felt surreal, like a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. As they loaded Amarachi into the ambulance, Amaka climbed in beside her, clutching her daughter's hand, whispering prayers and promises that everything would be okay. The next few hours at the hospital were a blur of bright lights and sterile smells. Amaka paced the waiting room, her mind racing with questions and fears. Chidi sat nearby, his face pale and drawn, his eyes wide with worry. A doctor finally emerged from the emergency room, his expression grave. Amaka rushed to him, her heart pounding. "Doctor, how is she? Is Amarachi going to be all right?" The doctor sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "Your daughter is stable for now. She had a severe allergic reaction, which caused her to go into anaphylactic shock. We've given her medication to counteract it, but she will need to stay in the ICU for observation." Amaka's knees nearly buckled with relief. "Thank you, doctor. Can I see her?" "Of course. But only for a few minutes. She needs rest." Amaka nodded and followed the nurse to the ICU. When she saw Amarachi lying in the hospital bed, a tangle of tubes and machines surrounding her, tears filled her eyes. She sat beside her daughter, gently stroking her hand. "I'm here, Amarachi. Mama is here. You're going to be okay," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. As she sat there, Amaka's mind raced with questions. What had caused the reaction? Amarachi didn't have any known allergies. She glanced at Chidi, who stood in the doorway, his face a mask of guilt and fear. "Chidi," she called softly, and he approached, his eyes downcast. "What happened at the party? Do you know what caused this?" Chidi shook his head, tears streaming down his cheeks. "I don't know, Mama. We were just having fun, and then she collapsed. I didn't see her eat anything unusual." Amaka's heart ached at the sight of her son in such distress. She pulled him into a hug, comforting him as best as she could. "We'll find out what happened, Chidi. We have to." The next day, Amarachi was still unconscious, and Amaka's worry grew with each passing hour. She decided to investigate on her own, starting with a visit to Chinidu's house. The party had ended in chaos, but Amaka hoped to find some clues. Chinidu's parents were understanding and allowed her to look around. The house was a typical suburban home, nothing out of the ordinary. But as Amaka examined the living room where the party had taken place, she noticed something strange, a small vial lying under a chair, half hidden by a curtain. She picked it up, frowning. It was labeled with a name she didn't recognize and a symbol that looked like a snake. Curiosity piqued, Amaka decided to take the vial to her friend, Dr. Bolu, a toxicologist who worked at the same hospital. Bolu was surprised to see her and even more intrigued by the vial. "This is not something you find every day," he said, examining the vial closely. "It's a synthetic drug, one that can cause severe allergic reactions in some people. It's highly unusual and dangerous." Amaka's heart sank. "Do you think this is what caused Amarachi's reaction?" "It's possible," Bolu replied. "But we need to run tests to be sure." Amaka thanked him and left the hospital, her mind swirling with questions. How had this drug ended up at the party? Who had brought it, and why? As she drove home, a sense of unease settled over her. There were too many unanswered questions, and she was determined to find the truth. Over the next few days, Amaka's life became a whirlwind of caring for Amarachi, who remained unconscious, and searching for answers. She visited Chinidu and his friends, hoping to piece together what had happened at the party. But no one seemed to know anything about the vial or how it had ended up there. Frustrated and exhausted, Amaka decided to dig deeper. She began looking into the people who had been at the party, starting with Chinidu's older brother, Obina. Obina was known for his wild parties and questionable connections. Amaka had always been wary of him, and now her suspicions grew stronger. One evening, as she sat at her kitchen table, poring over her notes, Chidi approached her. "Mama, I've been thinking. Obina was acting strange that night. He was in and out of the house a lot, and he seemed nervous." Amaka looked up, her interest piqued. "Did you see him with the vial?" "No, but he was with some guys I didn't recognize. They left just before Amarachi collapsed." Amaka's mind raced. Could Obina have something to do with the drug? She decided to confront him directly. The next day, she went to Chinidu's house again, determined to get answers. Obina answered the door, his expression wary. "Mrs. Amaka, what brings you here?" "I need to talk to you, Obina." "It's about the party," she said, her voice firm. Obina hesitated, then nodded. "All right, come in." They sat in the living room, and Amaka didn't waste any time. "I found a vial at the party, Obina. A vial that contained a synthetic drug. Do you know anything about it? Obina's eyes widened, and he shifted uncomfortably. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me, Amaka said, her voice sharp. My daughter is in the hospital because of that drug. If you know anything, you need to tell me. Obina sighed, running a hand through his hair. Okay, look, I don't know much. Some guys I know asked if they could stash something at the party. I didn't ask questions. I didn't think it was anything serious. Do you know who they were? Amaka pressed. Obina shook his head. No. They were just some guys I met at a club. I didn't get their names. Amaka's heart sank. She was back to square one, with no leads and no answers. She left Shinidu's house feeling more frustrated than ever. But she was determined not to give up. Amarachi's life depended on it. Days turned into weeks, and Amarachi remained in a coma. Amaka was at her daughter's bedside every day, holding her hand and praying for her recovery. The doctors were cautiously optimistic, but the uncertainty was agonizing. Then, one morning, as Amaka sat by Amarachi's bed, she felt a slight pressure on her hand. She looked up, and to her amazement, Amarachi's eyes fluttered open. Tears of relief filled Amaka's eyes as she leaned closer. Amarachi, you're awake, she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. Amarachi blinked, her eyes struggling to focus. Mama, what happened? You had an allergic reaction, sweetheart. But you're going to be okay. You're safe now, Amaka said, her heart overflowing with relief and joy. Amarachi's recovery was slow but steady. As she regained her strength, Amaka told her what had happened at the party and about the mysterious vial. Amarachi was shocked and had no memory of seeing the vial or anyone suspicious. I just remember dancing and having fun. Then everything went dark, she said, frowning. I don't understand how this could have happened. Amaka hugged her daughter tightly, grateful just to have her back. We'll figure it out, Amarachi. Together. As Amarachi continued to recover, Amaka's determination to find out who was responsible for the drug incident grew stronger. She decided to reach out to an old friend, Detective Toyin, who had a reputation for solving difficult cases. Toyin was intrigued by Amaka's story and agreed to help. He began by examining the vial and tracing its origins. After a few days, he called Amaka with some promising news. I found a lead on the vial, he said. It was manufactured by a pharmaceutical company that went bankrupt a few years ago. The drug was never approved for use, but some batches went missing from their warehouse. It seems someone has been selling it on the black market. Amaka's heart raced. Do you know who? We are still working on that, Toyin replied. But we have a name, someone who might be involved. A man named Agony. Amaka's mind raced. The name was familiar. She remembered Obina mentioning Agony as someone he had met at a club. Could he be the key to unraveling this mystery? Toyin agreed to investigate further, and Amaka felt a glimmer of hope. She knew they were getting closer to the truth. But as she waited for news, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this than met the eye. With Toyin's help, Amaka discovered that Agony was a known associate of a local gang involved in drug trafficking. They decided to confront him directly, hoping to get answers. One evening, Amaka and Toyin went to a seedy club in the heart of Lagos, where Agony was known to hang out. The place was loud and smoky, filled with people who looked like they had nothing to lose. Amaka's heart pounded in her chest as they approached the bar. Agony? Toyin asked the bartender, showing him a photo. The bartender nodded towards a dark corner of the room. He's over there. Amaka and Toyin made their way to the corner, where Agony sat with a group of men, laughing and drinking. When he saw them approaching, his smile faded, and he eyed them warily. Who are you? He demanded. We need to talk, Toyin said, his voice firm. It's about a drug that was found at a party. A drug that put a young girl in the hospital. Agony's eyes narrowed. I don't know what you're talking about. Amaka stepped forward, her anger and desperation boiling over. My daughter almost died because of that drug. If you know anything, you need to tell us. For a moment, Agony looked conflicted. Then he sighed and gestured for them to sit down. All right. I'll tell you what I know. But you didn't hear it from me. He explained that he had been working with Obinna to distribute the drug. They had no idea it was so dangerous. They just thought it would make their parties more exciting. Amaka's heart ached as she listened. She had never imagined that Obinna could be involved in something like this. Why didn't you come forward when you found out what happened to Amarachi? She asked, her voice trembling. Agony looked down, shamefaced. I didn't want to get involved. I didn't think it would help. Amaka's anger flared. You could have saved her life. You could have stopped this from happening. Toyin put a hand on her shoulder, calming her. We'll take it from here, Mrs. Amaka. Agony will face justice for his part in this. As they left the club, Amaka felt a mix of relief and sorrow. They had found the truth, but it had come at a terrible cost. She could only hope that bringing Agony to justice would help Amarachi heal and prevent this from happening to anyone else. With Agony's confession, Toyin was able to bring Obinna and the others involved to justice. The gang was dismantled, and the dangerous drug was taken off the streets. Amaka felt a sense of relief knowing that they had made a difference. Amarachi continued to recover, and as the weeks passed, the bond between her and Amaka grew stronger. They spent long hours talking and sharing their fears and hopes. Amaka was amazed at her daughter's resilience and strength. One evening, as they sat on the balcony of their apartment, watching the sunset over the Lagos skyline, Amarachi turned to Amaka. Mama, do you think we can ever move past this? Will things ever go back to normal? Amaka smiled, her heart swelling with pride and love. Things will never be the same, Amarachi. But we can learn from this, grow stronger, and build a new normal. We'll face whatever comes next together. Amarachi nodded, a determined look in her eyes. I want to help others, Mama. I don't want anyone else to go through what we did. Amaka hugged her daughter tightly, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and hope. You will, Amarachi. You're stronger than you know. As the months passed, life slowly returned to a semblance of normalcy. Amarachi went back to school, and Amaka returned to her job at the hospital. But the events of that night had left an indelible mark on their lives. Amaka decided to channel her energy into helping others who had been affected by drugs. She started a support group for families dealing with addiction and worked with local organizations to raise awareness about the dangers of synthetic drugs. Amarachi joined her in these efforts, speaking at schools and community centers about her experience and the importance of making safe choices. She found a new sense of purpose and strength in helping others. One day, as they stood together at a community event, watching the children play and laugh, Amaka felt a deep sense of peace. They had faced unimaginable challenges and come out stronger on the other side. The agony of a mother had given way to the hope and resilience of a family. Amaka looked at Amarachi, her heart full of pride. We've come a long way, haven't we? Amarachi smiled, her eyes shining with determination. Yes, we have. And we're just getting started. As they walked into the future, hand in hand, Amaka knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. The Agony had forged an unbreakable bond, one that would carry them through whatever life had in store. Years later, Amaka sat in the front row of a large auditorium, her heart swelling with pride as she watched Amarachi walk across the stage to receive her diploma. Amarachi had graduated with honors, earning a degree in social work, and was ready to start her career helping others. As Amarachi looked out into the audience, she met Amaka's gaze and smiled. It was a smile full of hope and promise, a testament to the journey they had shared and the strength they had found in each other. Amaka wiped away a tear, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and fulfillment. The agony of those dark days had given way to a brighter future, one filled with love, purpose, and endless possibilities. As they celebrated Amarachi's achievements, surrounded by family and friends, Amaka knew that their story was far from over. It was a story of love and resilience, a story that would continue to inspire and uplift others for generations to come. And in that moment, Amaka realized that the true legacy of a mother is not just in the battles fought or the challenges overcome, but in the love and strength she passes on to her children. A love that endures through all trials, a strength that carries them forward into a future full of hope and promise. As we reflect on the journey of Amaka and Amarachi, we are reminded of the unyielding strength of a mother's love and the resilience of the human spirit. From the darkness of that fateful night to the light of recovery and renewal, their story is a testament to the power of hope, courage, and the unwavering bond of family. Amaka's determination to uncover the truth and protect her children, coupled with Amarachi's bravery in facing her trauma and choosing to help others, shows us that even in our most challenging times, we can find strength and purpose. Their journey is a powerful reminder that while we may face unimaginable obstacles, we can emerge stronger and more united, ready to build a brighter future. This story is not just about the agony of a mother, it is about the resilience that can arise from that pain. It is about finding hope and purpose even when the path seems darkest. And it is about the incredible impact that love, community, and determination can have in overcoming adversity. If Amaka and Amarachi's story resonated with you, there are ways you can make a difference. 1. Support families in crisis. Consider donating to or volunteering with organizations that help families affected by drug-related incidents or other emergencies. Your support can provide crucial resources and hope to those in need. 2. Raise awareness. Share this video and the story of Amaka and Amarachi to raise awareness about the dangers of synthetic drugs and the importance of community support in times of crisis. 3. Get involved. Join or support local initiatives aimed at preventing drug abuse and supporting families. Your involvement can help create a safer and more supportive environment for everyone. 4. Educate and advocate. Learn about the signs of drug abuse and anaphylactic reactions, and advocate for better safety and education in schools and communities to prevent similar tragedies. Remember, every small action counts. Together, we can build stronger, safer communities and support families through their darkest times. If you found value in this story, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And let us know in the comments how you plan to make a difference. Thank you for watching, and let's continue to spread hope and resilience together.